Alright, hello everybody, I'm Index. I'm going to be trying to explain the ladder skip in FF1 movement today. Basically, the big concept behind ladder skip is you might see later in the any percent run and most other categories, when we're going through FF2 movement, we end up item sliding backwards in this corner like this, and when we do a sword slash across the fortress by doing a target slash. In FF1, that's ladder skip. The issue is we don't actually have the sword, so we can't do a sword slash to reach that ledge. We have to try to do it without the sword. The reason why people do ladder skip is because it's somewhere between 4 and 10 seconds faster. I feel like I hear a different number every time, so I'm really not sure, to be honest. But somewhere between there, I think 8 is the settled upon number. And you really only see it by by two runners, to be honest, by Mr. Alberto and by Kiba13. And it saves a little bit of time, but it's also extremely risky because failing it can lose a lot of time. It can lose anywhere from like 20 to 40 seconds depending on how you fail it. So it's very risky, and it was considered reset heavy for a while, but with enough practice anything can be considered consistent. Alright, so I'm going to go over two methods, one similar to a version of Cycle Skip, where you sort of get in this corner, get a certain angle, and then you do a target hop like this by holding down, and then that'll jump across the fortress and reach that ledge. The other one I'm going to do is the version that I see Kiba doing, well, I used to see Kiba doing a lot, where you get a certain angle here, and then you run across this wall, you reach like roughly here, and then you turn around and jump across the fortress. Alright, so the first one I'm going to do is the version that Kiba likes to do, which is the one where you run across the wall a little bit. The first step in either of them is to get a specific angle. If you're going for the version Kiba does, I like to get an angle that's pretty much like this. The way I can tell, I'm talking about camera angle by the way. The way I can tell that my angle is good is I line up the prong of the Y button, the right prong of the Y button with that wall. I know Kiba has a different Q because he likes to have bottle equipped on Y right now, but I always make it a point to unequip bottle because I like to have my Y button empty for the entire any percent run. For specific reasons, mostly dealing with the hover, but yeah, so basically I can use this Q. If you talk to Kiba, he can probably give you a Q with the bottle as well. So roughly this angle, and then you run up across the wall by holding right, you run back, and at some point you need to start holding neutral. You need to make sure you do this because if you don't start holding neutral before you go for the turnaround jump, you will lose all your speed when you try to turn around because you'll get a fast turnaround. And if you don't hold neutral before doing that, you just lose all your speed. It's just a fact of the game. So you want to get just past this line. I like to get like right here-ish, and then you want to hold as straight down as possible. And if everything is done correctly, you should jump across the fortress and grab here. There is movement after ladder skip. I'm not actually going to go over that much. I'll touch on it at the very end of the tutorial, but that is not the focus of this tutorial, so I'm not going to touch on it right now. Great, I'm using the hacker, by the way, so I can just do stuff like this. I recommend having the hacker set up for this, because otherwise it takes a while to practice. It's just a very nice quality of life thing. Or if you want, you can use Doom Zoom. It probably has similar features. I haven't used that before though, and I haven't downloaded it, so I'm not prepared for that. Alright, so the next version I'm going to go over is Alberto's method. One thing I kind of didn't touch on, just really quick, this flows really well with normal FF1 movement because usually you're item sliding up these stairs, and then at some point you go into third person movement and you've got a lot of speed in third person cam. For Alberto's version, I like to line up the camera roughly like this. You can see it's not quite lined up with the Y button. It sort of cuts the right diagonal right third off the Y button. That's roughly what I aim for. It's not a perfect cue. In fact, you could line it up with the X button. You can see it almost lines up with the prong on the X button, if you like that. Again, this is for Alberto's version where you turn around in the corner and you... Oh, well, you don't do that. You jump across the fortress doing a Cycle Skip-esque jump. Wait, let me get back there. So just to because I don't really need to do the FF1 movement to explain it, I'm just gonna do an item slide here and get my speed. So to do this turnaround, you need to, okay, if you want to keep the camera like this, which I'd recommend because it's a little bit faster, you need to hold down on the right stick-ish, and then hold down on the left stick so you can convert to negative, release target, hold target again, hold up on the left stick, and then you can worry about the camera angle. So like I said, with Alberto's, you can line it up with the X button, so it sort of cuts the Y button into a third. So roughly like this, and then I like to hold straightish down. You can hold a little bit to either side, but for the most part this should work. And we go right here. So that is ladder skip in a nutshell. As promised, I'm going to touch on the movement. I'm actually going to do one more thing really quick. So the two main methods of failing this are you either land in the water, on the rock, land in the water or on the rocks, in which case it's usually just best to avoid out because FF1 has really weird collision. It's not usually practical to clip back in, so it's best to just cut your losses and take the void out, or if you're going to reset, that is the perfect time to reset. The other thing I want to touch on is the other way to fail, where you land on like this archway thing, in which case there's actually a backup, which isn't too terrible, although I'm not a huge fan of it. So let's say I'm trying to do ladder skip, I'm doing Alberto's version, and my camera angle is a little off, or maybe my down angle is a little off. It's something like this, I hold down-ish, and I land here. So now I'm going to, you can go here, you can actually make the jump from here. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not good enough to do that, and it's too scary for me. The safer backup is to item slide into this wall, and do a target hop, and you'll land right back over there, and you can go for ladder skip again. That is what I would recommend. So you just convert to positive, do a target hop, and you're back over here. Then you can go for ladder skip again. Make sure, if there's one thing I'd be worried about when going for ladder skip, it is the camera angle. The camera angle is the most important part. You either want to keep a consistent camera angle or a consistent analog stick angle that you always hit every time, and it's much harder to get a consistent analog stick angle, so I recommend keeping the camera the same every time. If you do that, it'll make it much easier to actually do the trick. So I'm gonna get my speed, go into the corner, turn around, line up the Y button so it's like cut into a third almost, and it sort of lines up with the X button prongs. So roughly like this, and of course the faster you do this, the more time you save, but I'm just trying to explain it right now. You don't have to pause here if you trust your down angle. I don't. I'm also using data viewer, so I'm kind of cheating, but it is a tutorial, so I'm not really trying to fail it in front of people. And that was just a case of my camera being too far to the left. Because my camera was too far to the left, I landed here. If my camera is too far to the right, I'll either land on the very edge of that, or I will fall in the water, and that'll be that. Okay, so I've explained both the methods, now I want to explain the movement afterward, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Give me a second. Alright, so we're here. The movement afterward is similar to FF2, where you want to get a lot of speed in first person, go up here, and there's a moblin here, and the important thing to note about the moblin is when he sees you, the camera goes wild. When he sees you, you want to be holding neutral, because if you are holding a direction, most likely you are going to fly across the Forsaken Fortress, because the camera just is too unpredictable to try to handle. So get a good angle when running across this wall, that you can, yeah, see, that's a case of me not holding neutral. Get a good angle when you're running across that wall, and then hold neutral, and that should just allow you to get past him pretty easily if he sees you. So let me get back over there really quick. Let me try to item slide. So roughly like this, and line up the camera somewhere around there. I don't do this trick, so I don't consider myself an expert, but I'm just trying to explain it. And up here, same movement as FF2 right now. Get on the wall, find a neutral angle you can hold, and you can correct by holding down at the end if you're going too far or too fast. For this part, this is Cycle Skip 1. If you want, you can just go back over there, do Cycle Skip like however you do it right now. It's a little slower than trying to do a fast Cycle Skip, but you notice that based on this movement, we actually have a lot of speed right now. So with that speed, trying to convert it to Cycle Skip is really important. This is not a Cycle Skip 1 tutorial after ladder skip. I don't know the version that Alberto does. I do not know it at all, and I hate making tutorials that only go over one version because I feel like it isn't inclusive enough, doesn't give you enough options, and you don't have enough to go off of. But just because I feel like it's incomplete without it, I'm going to go over the method that Kiba does, or at least what I remember. It has been a while, and I am not an expert at this. So basically, you want to get the camera roughly behind Link. You want to start holding up left, and then when the camera starts to like shift, or not when the camera shifts, but when Link starts moving out of the corner, like you can see it, he starts walking out of the corner, hold target, and then hold up left to get Link back in the corner, and then hold like down right-ish. Like, it's more right than down, but it's like down right-ish. And if you've got too far of an angle, that'll happen. You just converted to negative. So again, get it behind Link. Link starts leaving the corner. Hold just down of right. Boom! And if you do it correctly, you'll land there. I obviously didn't, but hey, that's not what this tutorial is about. If you have any questions about ladder skip, feel free to ask in the Discord. I would highly recommend reaching out to either Mr. Alberto, Kiba13, or Super Dude 88, because all three of those runners have done ladder skip a lot. I have done it a very small amount. I tried to learn it at one point, and I ended up taking a huge break from speedrunning and didn't properly learn it. But this is what I remember from what I did, and it worked for me for a little while, but it has been a while, so I recommend reaching out to Mr. Alberto or Kiba. And if you can't get in touch with either of them, I know Super Dude used to do it a lot as well. And yeah, that is the end of the tutorial. If you haven't already, you should probably join the Wind Waker HD speedrunning Discord, because that's where people talk about all this stuff, and it's a good resource for learning the game. Alright, thank you.